Got a song in my head this morning. It's the same old song. Been through this time in, time out. And yet again, we're talking about a 24-17 loss for the Tennessee Titans. 17 damn points again. Lucas, again. 17 points. They refuse.
I appreciate you trying to compensate for your glee last week by being fake mad this week.
You don't understand, okay? I appreciate you trying to pin this on me for the sake of the show. I'm as pissed as they are today, okay? I'm tired of doing sad boy radio. I really am. I'm tired of doing sad boy lockers. It's the same damn show we did last Monday. Don't tell me I'm fake mad. I don't want to waste my Sunday watching them squander away another lead.
You could not wipe the smile off your face last Monday. You were gleeful. You were so giddy that they blew it in Chicago and went 0-1 to start the season and only scored 17 points again. Now you're going to be all mad about it?
If you want to go back and look at my face when I walked in here and my neck vein and my forehead vein popping out when I talked about 17 damn points per game, no. This is not fake rage. I honestly, this is the only time that you could get close to pinning fandom on me, okay? Because I'm actually pissed on behalf of the customers that they're watching this on a weekly basis, and it doesn't matter how many times the parts change, doesn't matter how many new pieces and all the, happy-go-lucky off-season, feel-good vibes, whatever. Oh, players are allowed to be themselves. Now it's so much more fun. 24-17, the Titans fall at home against the New York Jets yesterday. You're not going to pin me on fake mad today. Somebody's saying that I'm mad because the Colts lost to Malik Willis yesterday. I don't care about that either. You better hope you don't lose to Malik Willis next week, because then we're going to be having a much different conversation, you and I, about this professional football organization, if you want to still call it a professional football organization for the way that the last 3 seasons have gone.
Nobody believes you. You are thrilled about this, but it's okay. I appreciate the effort. It is insane that the final score was the exact same as week 1.
It's not just the score. He did it again.
It's symbolic. It's symbolic that the final score was the exact same thing because essentially the same thing happened.
He did it again, though. And it didn't lead to a pick six. And it didn't even lead to points because the defense had a good first half. And then they ran out of gas. Ran out of gas in the second half. I don't know what Lucas, honest to God, because I can't tell if you're doing a bit or not, trying to pin the fake outrage on me. But this is my 8th season covering them. Yesterday was the first time I did not go into the postgame locker room. I went to Callahan's press conference. I went to Will Levis's press conference. And I said, for what? What am I going to go ask Jeffrey Simmons today? What is DeAndre Hopkins going to tell me that I haven't heard before about the same old song that we're talking about with this damn football team? And the fact that it's the quarterback, again in a big spot. And it's not just him. Listen, it was a better performance yesterday. Still not good enough. How the hell do you get punts blocked in back-to-back games? This is a 4-man rush yesterday that the Jets brought against Ryan Stonehouse. I watched the television copy back half last night, half this morning to see what Ramon Foster was talking about on Titans radio, because I was listening to the broadcast in my headset while I was sitting in the press box yesterday, and Ramon reporting that Ryan Stonehouse was visibly upset and yelling at people on the sideline after yet another punt is blocked by this football team. Can't blame the ghost of Craig Aukerman anymore. Are people going to pin this on Mike Vrabel? Oh, Mike Vrabel beat the Jags at the end of the season, so we didn't get to draft Joe Alton. Instead, we got J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham was fine yesterday. Talking about an offensive line, I looked up the numbers on Pro Football Focus right before I came in here, about less than an hour ago. They're leading the league in pressures again. And by a considerable margin.
Bottom in turnover margin at -5. Titans are the first team, according to Next Gen Stats, to have 2 punts blocked in the first 2 games of the season since Washington in 2012.
So no, you don't get to pin fake outrage on me today, because I'm legitimately pissed, as should the fan base be, because they should be as tired of watching bad football as we are. And that I think, this year is about finding out who the quarterback is. And unfortunately for the fan base, he seems to be telling you who he is. We're going to hear from Brian Callahan today. We're going to hear from Will Levis today. We're going to carry the press conference at 11 o'clock. We're going to do the same routine. We're going to do a vibe check on Levis at 11 o'clock. Your phone calls are welcome. 615-737-1045 is the number. The FNM Bank chat also available to you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. But no, it's about watching bad football. 7-0 is the lead. They got 3rd and goal from the 6. He's sitting there in the shotgun. Pressure comes, okay? He starts to, it looks like he's hopping, like leaping kind of, to his left, trips over the outstretched arm of, I think it was Will McDonald.
He was going to get sacked.
Going to get sacked.
Would have been McDonald's 4th, by the way.
Well, I think he had 3 yesterday, right?
He did. So he would have had 4.
He was technically, no, that was his first. He was credited with that sack according to the game book.
Oh, he did get credited.
That was a sack.
Oh, so it was a sack fumble.
Is how it was listed in the game book.
Did not realize that was one of his 3 sacks.
Correct, yes. So that was that. I'm looking at it here now from the NFL's game summary. Credited with a sack fumble to Will McDonald. He leaps to his left, and he does it again. And like I said, because I saw your tweet about, there being, well, can you read what your tweet was so that I don't mischaracterize it? Because I want to make sure that you get the language right.
I said yesterday, undeniable progress from Will Levis and the Titans today, but it's insane that we're coming away talking about a needless turnover and a blocked punt again. And I still feel that way. Will Levis could have thrown 3-4 touchdowns yesterday, but if you give the game away, none of it matters. None of the good stuff matters. And that's how I felt about yesterday. It was better around the bad stuff, yes, but it doesn't matter because the result was the same.
And we'll get into this later, especially in the noon hour. But I disagree with your assessment, and I'll explain more why. Because I do think it's a reasonable point that you made, but I also think that there's a tinge of recency bias to it, which I'll explain later on in the show. But I am sick to my stomach for you guys because you're right there. You have the ability to do it. And at the end of the game, he's got him back in the red zone. They're moving the ball against the Jets. The Jets who are, I know I picked them to go to the Super Bowl this year, but look like a fundamentally beaten team or beatable team, if not a beaten team, because they weren't a beaten team. They scored 2 touchdowns in the second half and took the game from you at home.
Yeah, they were beatable from start to finish yesterday.
They were beatable. They have the ability to throw the game-tying touchdown. Dan Orlovsky had it as soon as the game was over. He was breaking down the play, not on NFL Live. He just took a screen cap on Twitter. Calvin Ridley's in the end zone. He's there. He's open for Will Levis to make the play. And instead, Levis just doesn't see him and takes off running, gets smoked by a defensive back as time is expiring with 46 seconds left on the clock. It's not just that he made the boneheaded play again. It's that he missed the opportunity to give them a chance. And it's the culmination of all of those things that maybe horrifies you, does not, maybe that's a bit hyperbolic, right? Because I don't know if you're horrified today. I don't know if you're mad today. I don't know if you're apathetic today. I don't know how you feel today. That's why we've got phone lines and a live stream chat for you to tell us. But I know how I felt watching that. And like I said, it's the closest that you could pin fandom on me because I felt viscerally angry with watching them squander it again and having to talk about the quarterback that way again. Even as I went into this season fully understanding that it's not about a Super Bowl in 2024. It may not even be about the playoffs, though you spent enough money to make you think that would be a reasonable expectation. It's about finding out who Will Levis is as not just present, but as future. And sure as hell, he is not acquitting himself well for the latter at this point.
Through 2 games, he is what a lot of people thought he was coming out of the draft.
Do you want to retract your apology now? I mean, am I going to have to do this every Monday with you? You want to take back the apology? It's not too late.
I don't take back apologies.
Well, that seems weird. Why not?
I won't do it.
It's just, you got an unwritten code of conduct at home you and Blue abide by? Like, what is this? I don't retract apologies.
Have you ever retracted an apology before?
For sure. We do sports talk radio. Hell yes.
What does that have to do with anything? When's the last time you retracted an apology?
I'll take the commercial break to figure out the last time I've retracted an apology. It was probably to you. I probably apologized to you for something, then you pissed me off again. I said, no, I take it back. 615-737-1045. Damn it. I don't want to do Sad Boy Radio for 3 hours. I don't. But we're going to. We're going to talk about this game. Woo. 615-737-1045. We'll get to more of your phone calls coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. It is the same old song. Poor Titans fans, man. You got to be going through it today. That's why we're here for you. I'm gonna calm down. Lucas thinks it's fake. I don't think it's fake.
It's so fake, Jackson.
I'm gonna bring. So do you know I actually have a blood pressure monitor? Because I do have high blood pressure at 31 years old. Probably not the healthiest thing. I'm going to bring my blood pressure monitor in the next time that they do this, and I'll wear it on my wrist so that you can see physically something is happening inside of me that I can't control. It's like this rage monster just bubbling up. Blood's going to start spurting from my ears.
Not buying it.
I think that game could make anybody mad. I think he's actually angry today.
I'm sweating. We're 12 minutes into the show, and I'm sweating. 615-737-1045. The Titans fall 24-17 against the damn New York Jets, who get right and the Titans get wrong. We'll take your phone calls. Let's start with Steve up first.
Buck, Lucas, thank you for taking my call. Hey, Buck, I'm going to make you feel better. You didn't play yesterday, so you shouldn't feel that bad to begin with, and 31 years old, high blood pressure is not a good thing. But here's the thing. Look, did you just pay Trevor Lawrence a boatload of money? Because he looked like crap. He's 0-2. Anthony Richardson looks like he started about 13 games total in his career. Last I checked, Lamar's 0-2, Joe's 0-2. And you're right, this year's about finding out what Levis can do, right? So relax. Either he's going to do it, or we're going to go draft another quarterback next year. But it's not worth getting this upset about. God, like I said, 6 wins this year. I'm happy as long as we're in every game. So far, we're in every game. We could be 2-0. Caleb Williams doesn't look good either. But, Buck, relax. You're 31 years old. Have a good show with Lucas and enjoy, buddy.
Thank you for the call, Steve. That was very comic.
I did not have radiant positivity on the bingo card for the first call of the day. Well, that was so positive, Steve. That was so positive.
Well, it's good context, but I don't want to resign myself to either he's good or we're talking about who they're going to draft next year in week 2. Right? I mean, even you and I, like whatever nuance and reason we had about everything that they did, a new football team, and it's going to take a minute. And this has been my line as long as I've done this. I'm going to wait until October to pass actual judgments on your football team. But I'm not going to wait till October to pass judgments on your quarterback's decision-making. Those are 2 different conversations that we're having here. Because again, I feel like the team that they have put together around the quarterback is doing its job for the most part. The offensive line thing is a concern, for sure, a concern. But, I'm even going to have some level of patience with them because you know what? Despite them leading the league in pressures allowed, according to Pro Football Focus, 33, it's significantly more than the next closest team, for what it's worth. And NPF, a problem yesterday.
Yeah.
J.C. Latham looked better. J.C. Latham played infinitely better against the Jets than he did against Chicago, and the Jets are arguably as good up front, if not better, than what it is that Chicago had. So I understand his point, and we're going to talk about the AFC South tomorrow because Titans fans certainly are not the fan base that feels the worst on this particular Monday, where 3 of them are 0-2 and the 1 is 2-0 because, of course, they are.
Yeah, and one of those 3 0-2 teams just paid that guy a lot of money.
That's why they feel the worst.
But you're right. Conversation for another day. Let's talk about best case scenarios, right? If Will Levis accomplishes what he's trying to accomplish in both catastrophic moments so far this season, we talked about week 1 ad nauseum. The best case scenario for him there is he gets it out of bounds and it's 4th and 10 and they're punting anyway. The best case scenario yesterday, if Levis does miraculously get that flip to Tyjae Spears and it doesn't get fumbled, is Spears catches the ball and then gets smattered by the 2 Jets players that were right there, and the Titans lose another 3 yards. That's what we're talking about here. Playing hero ball is one thing, trying to fit the ball into windows and going downfield, looking for the home run ball. This isn't even, I don't even want to hear the word hero ball when it comes to these type of plays. The best case scenario is you lose more yards because your running back catches the ball, but he has nowhere to go in that moment. It was mind-boggling. It was arguably a more mind-boggling play than the one in Chicago.
The Chicago loss feels worse, I'm sure. Again, I'm not going to tell you guys how to feel. You can tell me how you feel. Chicago loss feels worse, though, right? Because it is the play that loses the game.
Yeah.
But I cannot get this feeling out of the back of my head watching him do it again and seeing Brian Callahan have the reaction that all of us had and saying, I feel worse about him after that game than I did after the Chicago game. As bad as that play was, because he did it again. 615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. Let's go to Aaron up next.
Hey, guys, what's up? So,
Just this.
Burks should be super embarrassed. He got straight up robbed. And that was his problem coming out of college, too, from what I read this morning in an article. So there's just no excuse for that. And we're paying a Woozier that much money to get mossed by old-ass Mike Williams. Sorry for my language. I'm just a little irritated. That's inexcusable. And then our special teams should be elite. We have an elite punter, a Hall of Fame punter if he stays in the league if we don't get him killed. And we have a great kicker, too. Our special teams should be elite. There's no excuse for it. They need to really, really emphasize on some special teams this week. And Radens and MPF, oh, my gosh, we need to do what we can to get a left guard in there pronto because Radens sucks. He's a backup at best. And Burks, Levis, he's just like a little kid playing with a hot stove. You just keep having to smack his hands, and it's irritating and it's embarrassing. That's all I got, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. It's a lot of different things there, Aaron. The only thing that I will say is I thought Cheeto had good coverage. Mike Williams is significantly bigger than Cheeto. And that, by the way, this is the only play that Mike Williams made in the game.
Mike Williams did to Cheeto there what you wanted Burks to do on the deep ball by Levis.
Exactly right. And whenever Jackson gets finished with the phones, I'm going to pull up this clip from Matt Waldman. Now, Waldman, you're not going to see the play itself, but you saw the game yesterday, so you'll be able to hear Matt Waldman walk you through what Treylon Burks is supposed to do, because I didn't have a ton of people saying, well, Levis underthrew that ball into double coverage, but there was some, and the coach was asked about it. Coach had zero issue with the throw. Brian Callahan did not air Burks out in that spot, but Matt Waldman on Twitter did last night. Let's hear it, Jackson. He's going to find it for me here in just a second. We'll get to it. And
not a lot of people are talking about that Levis throw too. And it was the first time he touched the ball after the disastrous fumble pitch play. So he turned it over twice in 2 straight plays. But I'm with you. That's a 50-50 ball.
Not on him.
For one of the biggest receivers on the football field that day to go up and just make a play. And if he doesn't, make it an incomplete pass, worst case scenario.
Is he bigger than Mike Williams? I'm going to look it up. Why doesn't Jackson will play the clip. I'll look this up to see who's actually the biggest wide receiver on the football field yesterday.
I'm going to need to see the all 22 before I really nail Levis for this decision. Certainly a reasonably placed throw considering the double coverage, but it is picked off. And when I say reasonable, let's take a look at why. Because just as much as maybe this was a questionable throw for Levis, depending on what we see from the All-22, this is the thing that Treylon Burks has always done wrong. When people were hyping up Treylon Burks to the degree that they were, one of the things that he does is in contested situations, he's got this size and length. I mean, look how much bigger he is than these two dudes. But look at how he goes up to catch the ball. Look how his hands are wide apart. Part of that is the defenders around him. But he should be attacking with overhand position, extending to the earliest point and the highest point to the ball. He's leaping, and he's not using his height. I mean, his arms are bent at the elbows. He's got underhand position. The defender's hand is at the same level as his hands. Both his arms should be high overhand position, so he's attacking the ball over the hand of the defender, so that when he catches it, he can catch it above the hand of the defender, so the defender has no chance of being able to pull it loose because he can then just turn his back away from the defender. But instead, he's still open to 36 when he makes that catch. And 36 just rips it free, or it actually has a chance to rip it free. It's 28 who still rips it free. If he attacked this overhand at the highest point using his strength, his length, and his height, this would be a catch without any type of issue. But
So that's Matt Waldman breaking down the specific catch that turned into an interception because Treylon Burks just wasn't aggressive at the point of attack. Now, Mike Williams is taller than Treylon Burks. I just looked up their height and weight. Mike Williams listed at 6'4", 218. Treylon Burks, 6'2", 225. But still, his whole thing is supposed to be big body playmaker down the field. He's got the proper position. Even though the two defenders are around him in that spot, he is above them when he goes to make the catch, and yet his arms are below the defender who is below him instead of up high where they need to be. I'm doing this on
He's cradling,
FM
right?
radio. He's body catching.
Yeah, his arms are in the position of like cradling a baby, right? Waiting for the ball to fall into his arms and make the catch, with two defensive backs actively trying to disrupt the ball and knock it out and or catch it, which they ended up picking it off.
People are saying, well, that's on. I'm seeing some comments in the YouTube chat, not many, but some comments on the YouTube chat about, well, that's on Levis for throwing to his worst wide receiver in that spot, or Callahan for being okay with the throw, because Callahan was okay with the throw. The throw was fine. It's not the throw. It's not the issue with the throw. The throw was exactly where it needed to be for Treylon Burks to catch that damn ball. Make a play. Make one play. As a former first-round pick, and again, it's not even about the A.J. Brown stuff. It's not even about that anymore. It's about who you are, who you're supposed to be, and the opportunities that you are going to be that you have continued to be given to make one play. The quarterback needed you yesterday, and you let him down. Now, let me say this. Treylon Burks is the only reason that Calvin Ridley scores that rushing touchdown. That was a really nice block to set up Calvin Ridley on the first touchdown that Ridley had. It was a rushing touchdown. The receiving touchdown by Ridley was also ridiculous, because I thought that was for sure an interception from my vantage point in the press box.
Yeah, it was a crazy catch.
But that play has to be made. Has to. Let's hear from the head coach. Brian Callahan will carry the press conference live for you later, but he was asked about this. This question is specifically about second half scoring, because the Titans, I mean, I know this predates Callahan, but the Titans in their last, I think PK had the stat, in their last like 30-something games, maybe it's 30, 35 games, they are averaging 6.2 points per half.
Per second half.
Per second half. This was Brian Callahan when asked about the lack of second half scoring.
Yeah, it's miserable, to be honest. It's hard to... It's hard to overcome it when you're getting outscored like that, and we're putting ourselves in good position. We have opportunities, and we're not doing a good enough job capitalizing on when we have them. And so ultimately, I think it's just disappointing. Not how I thought this start of the season would look, and here we are.
Not. You think he speaks for a lot of people? He spoke for a lot of people a couple of different times yesterday. What the F are you doing? It's miserable. Not how I thought the start of the season would look. Three different things from Brian Callahan that I'm sure, speak for all of you after yesterday's result.
He seemed pretty defeated in the post-game presser, Brian Callahan, yesterday.
Turns out this stuff's hard.
Yeah.
Like, as a head coach, and it's a hell of a lot harder without Joe Burrow. I mean, I know Burrow's 0-2 today, too, and they have had, well, the Patriots loss is perplexing, but, you go to Kansas. Were they in Kansas City yesterday? Go to Kansas City, lose a game, you understand. But it's a lot harder than I'm sure he thought it was going to be, and this is his first real crack at it. So, because I saw a lot of people saying, oh, well, it's still refreshing to hear Brian Callahan at the podium yesterday. It's just a longer version of got to play better, coach better. That's all it is, and I know you don't want to hear that, and I'm not like caping up for Mike Vrabel today, but like, it's just a longer version of got to play better, coach better. That's all it is. 615-737-1045. AG next.
Yeah, I love the play coming off the turnover, the aggressive play to Treylon Burks.
Take a shot.
Like
I'm with you.
Yeah, I loved it. The opponent think he got you weak, and you come out with a mean punch, but they missed it. And I feel like I've seen some of the best Titan football in a long time. The first defensive series to the turnover, they were playing real good, and it's like that turnover just took the life out of the team to me a little bit. And I wanted to ask you, if Traylon Burks makes another mistake like that this next game, do you go ahead and bench him? And I also wanted to ask you, what do you think about the play calling and stuff so far as Callahan? That's all I got.
Okay, so because I think a lot of people got this question yesterday in some form or fashion. Why are they still doing this with Burks? Well, because it's only Callahan's second game with Burks, right? So for whatever the coaching staff, whatever the previous coaching staff might have moved away from him and towards NWI for, it's not been Callahan's experience yet. They've had him in practice. They've had him in preseason. But this is real life stuff when you're counting on him to make a play. So Callahan and the coaching staff have to now learn what Traylon Burks can or cannot be trusted to do. And unfortunately for them, they're finding out.
He got a 33 snaps, so 50% of the offensive snaps. Ridley led receivers with 54. Tyler Boyd had 50. Burks 33, and DeAndre Hopkins had 29.
So also, the Hop thing is a factor here because he is DeAndre Hopkins' primary backup. And Hopkins had that target in the back of the end zone yesterday. Hop didn't have a catch yesterday. Oh, no, he had a really tough contested catch over the middle. One catch. So 2 games, 2 catches for DeAndre Hopkins as they're trying to ramp him up. And then the second part about the play calling, listen, what do you want him to call after his quarterback puts you in harm's way that way? I'm not saying that, because Brian Callahan, again, at the end of the press conference yesterday, emphasized his belief in Will Levis's ability to correct the mistakes. And that is exactly how he should think, whether you think that way or not, and whether your faith in Will Levis is diminished or not. It is the job of the coach to continue to try and rectify the problem rather than just saying, oh, can't do anything with him. It's week 2. Mason Rudolph, your time, bud. Even though I'm having a really hard time not making the argument in my head that this football team wouldn't be 2-0 with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Because that dude, whatever he is, and he has his limitations, sure, but he doesn't put the ball in harm's way that way. 615-737-1045 is the number. The other part of it is, so the play calling, yeah, I think he's trying to work something out around the quarterback without the quarterback putting them in risky situations. And there has to be some risk associated. Those shot plays, it's not like they stopped being aggressive. The Ridley shot play, the Burke shot play, they had plays dialed up to continue to be aggressive in that game.
They were spreading the ball around, too. I mean, in the first half, 8 different players had a target, 7 had a catch. I mean, they were getting the ball. I think you had 10 players that had touches in terms of the receivers, tight ends, and running backs. So they were moving the ball and getting the ball to their playmakers, and a Levis catastrophic mistakes prevents it from being more than a 10-7 lead at halftime. But if you take away the mistakes, there's a 0% chance we're talking about the play calling. The play calling complaints, to me, are very circumstantial.
The play calling complaints are a product of, again, scoring 17 points per game. If you have a complaint about the defense today, you scored 17 points per game. If you have a complaint about the play calling today, you scored 17 points per game. Everything, for the 3rd straight season, I will remind you that everything is magnified when you can't score. And that, the Ridley drop, because he had a drop, right? Ridley made a couple of nice plays yesterday, had a bad drop.
Punt got blocked on the next play, too.
Punt got blocked. Everything is magnified when you cannot break damn 20. All right, one more here. Kent up next.
Well, first off, Buck, we don't need you having a coronary on the air. You are a member of this community. We love you so. Please get that blood pressure down, man. The other part is, everyone's talking about needing to put Rudolph in, and, would we be 2-0 with that? You don't get the answers you need. This season's about finding out what Levis is. That first caller, I agree with him 100%. We're either going to ride or die with Levis. He's either going to show what he is and be the franchise quarterback, or we're going in another direction. At the end of the day, no one else's job on this call, yours, mine, anybody else's, is on the line. It's just football. It's going to move on. It's going to be fine whether Levis is the guy or not. I mean, it's just that plain and simple. So everyone just needs to calm down. Not to mention, name a quarterback in this league that hasn't made boneheaded plays Hall of Fame or not. They all do earlier in the career. Manning had like set records for interceptions his rookie year. Not calling him Manning. Favre, same thing. Allen is, leads the league right now. I'm not saying he's any of those players, but every fan base did the same thing at some point with a great quarterback or with a crap quarterback. So that's it. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Kent. We do appreciate the positivity today because I'm sure some of you need to hear that as well, and I need to hear that as well. Context is good. But it's still, I'm just, well, we can talk about this more coming up next because the pressure is real. Levis is not the only issue here, and it was not the only issue yesterday, even though the bonehead play is the easy play to magnify. So we'll talk about the pressure that this quarterback is under from his offensive line group coming up next.
with Spears on his left hip. Levis takes the snap, looks, has it break down, flips it backwards to Pollard. That's a fumble. And the Jets have picked it up with Williams. And the Jets get on it at the 16. The Titans waste a red zone opportunity.
That's Titans Radio on the call of the Will Levis 3rd and goal from the 6 giveaway that would have given them the opportunity, regardless of whether they would have scored a touchdown or would have been able to kick a field goal, would have been a double-digit lead on the Jets. Because they're up 7-0 at the time. Jets can't get anything done. Titans defense playing lights out. And listen, I know they weren't perfect because it was a different story from first half to second half, but a part of that is because the offense is incapable of sustaining drives. 5 3-and-outs is something that we have not gotten to yet, beyond just the bonehead stuff that is easier to highlight.
It would have easily been 10-0. That was a 3rd down. So he was going down. If he does the best case scenario there, which is just take the sack, then it's 10-0.
So on that play, what's happening? He's getting pressured. Now he takes a sack, the first 3-and-out, the first drive of the game. They bring a 3-man rush, and he gets sacked. It's actually just a nice play by Will McDonald because Levis tries to make something happen in the pocket. They drop 8 and rush 3, and Will McDonald, I don't know if he's playing zone or if he's a spy in that kind of situation, but Will McDonald just comes up, makes a play, and gets the sack, gets the Titans off the field on that first possession. On this particular play, Levis is under pressure. Levis is under pressure specifically from his right side. The right side was terrible yesterday. J.C. Latham was better. Pete Skoronski was not a disaster. Lloyd Cushenberry had a tough time with Quinnen Williams. A lot of people do. But, Lucas, let's play a game. You know where the Titans finished last year in terms of offensive line pass blocking efficiency, according to Pro Football Focus?
31st?
32nd.
32nd?
They were 32nd.
I would have put the Giants at 32nd.
They were close. Do you know where the Titans are today in pass blocking efficiency, according to Pro Football Focus?
Guessing they are last.
They are last. They have allowed as a collective, and again, Pro Football Focus grades things differently than teams do, so this may not be the same numbers that the teams have. 33 total pressures for the collective Titans offensive line group. It is the most in the league through 2 weeks, pending Monday Night Football's result. 22 hurries, 7 quarterback hits, 4 sacks attributed on 73 passing dropbacks for the Tennessee Titans. Second is the New England Patriots, who have 26, Detroit with 26, San Francisco with 24. In terms of the, they are last in terms of pressures allowed. In terms of pass blocking efficiency, they are 31st. Atlanta has a worse pass blocking efficiency metric while allowing significantly less pressures than the Titans have allowed. But they've also had significantly less dropbacks than the Titans have had.
Mike Herndon tweeted the PFF pass blocking numbers for every starter on the O-line.
Okay.
And J.C. Latham allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 1 pressure.
It was good.
Skoronski allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 2 pressures. Cushenberry, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 1 pressure.
It's great for how Quinnen Williams played yesterday. Great.
Radens allowed 1 sack, 0 hits, and 4 pressures.
Bad.
Nicholas Petit-Frere allowed 1 sack, 1 hit, and 9 pressures.
9. Did any player... I can look this up for you because I also have access to the PFF premium stats. I'm going to look up if any one offensive lineman allowed more than 9 pressures yesterday, because I would imagine that would be very difficult to do in a 60-minute football game.
So, yes, Will Levis faced a lot of pressure, again, for the second straight week. But there is a very fine dividing line on quarterbacks that can handle those moments well and make sure they don't kill you, and quarterbacks that spin those moments into something worse. And every time Levis has had one of these catastrophic mistakes, it has come with him under pressure.
Will Levis, yesterday at the podium, when asked about the similarity to Week 1 versus yesterday's 24-17 loss, beyond just the final margin of defeat, this was the Titans quarterback.
I'm not going to point to one play as to what lost the game, but obviously I can look internally as to what I can do better. And you're right, something that I wanted to clean up that didn't get done this week. Disappointing for sure, and work my tail off to be better for my team this week.
Not even just specifically that one individual play, but you had a punt blocked in this game. I'm just speaking on the team a little.
Yeah, just kind of weird. Callie came in and said the same thing. It's like deja vu. Saw it twice in a row, shooting ourselves in the foot. Not going to win football games like that. We talk heavily about winning the turnover battle, and it's something we can't do right now.
So, what did and by the way, awful for Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah,
the Achilles injury yesterday, done for the year, I'm sure, but just awful to see. But he gave the appropriate scouting report ahead of this game. Talented athlete, looks like he panics under pressure. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Jackson, not our Jackson, but this Jackson up next.
What's up, guys? I just got to say a couple things. Will Levis, do you think we should take the C off his chest and, let him earn that on the field during the regular season instead of, during the off season? Because he hasn't really proved it yet. And then the defense, we're +4 in turnover margin, I think is what it is. And so, we need to force some turnovers. We got the fumble recovery last week against the Bears, but, we've got to force turnovers as much as, the defense is playing great, but we've got to force some turnovers. And, that's pretty much it. But
thanks for the call, Jackson. I appreciate it. That's the thing that people don't want to talk about today. The defense, and again, these things predate Callahan and Denard Wilson, but the defense could not get turnovers last year. The defense to date, not getting turnovers this year. They're not forcing turnovers. And the fumble was not a defensive thing. That was a special team. That was Velus Jones.
Yes,
that was not a fumble recovery by the defense.
Yeah, that's the only turnover that has gone the Titans' way, and it was special teams, and it was just a guy kicking a ball straight off the kickoff.
He really did just kick it. He kicked it 6 yards in front of him.
Well, he dropped it, and then it goes through his hands and onto his foot, and it's kicked out back to the Titans unit. So yes, need to start forcing turnovers on defense.
615-737-1045 is the number. Okay. We told you we're going to do this every Monday at 11. It's time for a quarterback vibe check. Coming up next. All right, second hour, we got calls to take. We got quarterbacks to talk about. We're going to do a vibe check here in just a second. First, quickly, Jackson, let me get a legal ID because it sounds like it didn't play.
That's us. That's who we are.
Okay, very good. There are rules that say that I have to do that for some reason. The computer didn't work right. It didn't go. So there it is. Now, quarterback vibe check is something I told you we're going to do every Monday, and 2 weeks in, I'm regretting it.
Well, it's unfortunate that actually happened because I was going to play a Brian Callahan bite in my update, Jackson. If we could hear that, I think it encapsulates what this conversation is about to be perfectly.
Yeah, I was upset. It was dumb. It was the same exact thing he did last week, and he cost us points in the red zone. And that is what it is. He's a grown up and he knows better. And so, I was really irritated that he cost us 3 points in a game that we probably needed it.
He's a grown up and he knows better. That's where we're at with the head coach talking about the quarterback of this football team.
Which, by the way, is a much more calmer version of, hey, what the bleep are you doing? Which is what he's screaming at him as Will Levis is coming off the sideline after fumbling away a potential double-digit lead over the New York Jets, who they lost to by a score of 24-17 again yesterday at Nissan Stadium. So, can I just hear that whole quote again? It sounded a little sped up because I remember hearing it yesterday. It was pretty close to off the top of the press conference that I was at. Let me hear from Brian Callahan.
Yeah, I was upset. It was dumb. It was the same exact thing he did last week, and he cost us points in the red zone. And that is what it is. He's a grown up and he knows better. And so, I was really irritated that he cost us 3 points in a game that we probably needed it.
You're not a little kid. You're 21.
Correct.
You're 25.
You're correct. Listen, all right? Because he said something yesterday, Levis did, that made me stop and put my phone down and look up at him in the middle of the press conference and be like, I cannot justify in any way, shape, or form what you've just said to explain away one of these mistakes. But we will get to that in the noon hour. So, for our weekly quarterback vibe check, how are we feeling about Will Levis as the Titans quarterback? Here's the stat line if you forgot. 19 of 28, 192 yards, 4 sacks for losses of 22 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 fumble lost, 4 rushes for 38 yards. He was the second leading rusher on the team. But what the box score does not note is that on several of those rushes in the final drive, Will Levis missed the opportunity for the game-tying touchdown, which Calvin Ridley was wide open in the end zone for with about 46 seconds left on the clock. So box scores do not account for missed plays. So if you're coming in here today trying to tell me that Will Levis had a good game except for the one boneheaded mistake, hey, go back. Hey, there will be all 22 clips aplenty for you to realize missed opportunities are also a factor in whether a quarterback has a good game or not.
He had a better game outside of the catastrophic mistakes.
Well, yes, because I have not seen many professional quarterbacks make the kind of play that he made in Chicago. So it no matter what he did yesterday, it could only be better unless he did the exact same thing in the exact same situation.
He had a better game, and he lost the game. Both of those things are true. But we had this conversation after last week. Going to be a lot of Groundhog Day stuff this week, just in terms of the boneheaded nature of the attempted shovel out of bounds in Chicago and the pitch fumble, obviously, yesterday against the Jets. That we didn't see him do anything like that last year to that degree of disaster. And I watched the games in here in the studio with Zach Lyons, and I brought that up yesterday. We didn't see any of that. What is going on that we saw a decent sample size of him as a rookie, and not once did you see a catastrophic boneheaded mistake like that? You saw interceptable balls and rookie moments and not seeing certain things and taking sacks. Sure, but nothing like that. And now here we are, 2 games in 2 weeks, and you've had 1 in each game. And I don't want to steal Zach's thunder. I don't know if he wants to talk about this with Blaine today, but Zach kind of brought it up. Could it be a Vrabel factor? I mean, could it straight up be an element of fear of what Mike Vrabel is going to do to you if you turn the ball over in that way, as opposed to Brian Callahan? And let me say, this is not a criticism of how Brian Callahan coaches quarterbacks, because it's only brought him success. But we've talked about it. It's a two-way street now, right? you're open to try things, to ask questions. There's sort of a freedom there for the player to be themselves, right? How often does Brian Callahan talk about that? So is there something in Will Levis's mentality that allows him to try to make those plays because his coach wants him to play freely and be himself, as opposed to Mike Vrabel, who, you know, if you try anything like that, even if it doesn't cost you in a turnover, whatever happens on the sideline after the fact's not going to be pretty.
Because there's somebody in the comments, I think, has misunderstood what you said. Football Fred says, oh my God, are we seriously saying this guy is traumatized? No, you've misunderstood Lucas. What he's saying is, because I got a text from a former Titans player yesterday after Will Levis fumbled. Quote, Vrabel would have punched Levis in the face after that throw, LOL. All right? The idea, and I'm not saying that the Titans would be better this year if Mike Vrabel was still the coach. That's not what either of us are saying. Nor is that what Zach Lyons' point, I'm sure, was yesterday. But not all players are created equal. Not all players are wired the same, and some players take different approaches than others. We had that conversation around Vrabel. Vrabel has a certain style of coaching. It does not work for everybody. So when that started to deteriorate and also the team was losing, it made sense to move on to somebody who was not like Mike Vrabel. But Will Levis did not make these kind of plays last year. Sometimes there are certain players who need fear of God coaching and not fear of, it's not like you hear football coaches say this a lot. It's not fear of God, it's fear of me. Sometimes there has to be the fear. Blaine made this point a couple of times last year, and I really liked the context of it because I thought, one, I had not considered it, but the way that Vrabel would sometimes bench players in game. Christian Fulton is a good example of this. And I'm not saying Christian Fulton was a good player. He was objectively a bad player here on aggregate. But I don't blame Vrabel for trying to motivate him by saying, if you're going to make a bad play like that, we're going to yank you. Now, Blaine's point was that's a very college thing to do, and all you're going to do is get these guys more tightly wound.
Yeah, hurt their confidence.
That doesn't help. But Levis, when allowed to be himself through 2 games, that's not going the way that it did last year. And that's why when I saw your tweet, or when somebody sent me your tweet last night about there being indisputable improvement.
I said there was undeniable progress from Levis and the Titans today, but the thing we're talking about is a needless turnover and a blocked punt again.
I think Will Levis is somebody who needs a bit of fear of God coaching in him. And I'm not saying that Callahan can't do that, because that's exactly what the F are you doing was yesterday. And that's probably the first time that Levis, I'm sure that Callahan has raised his voice before after things at practice or what have you. But these are game situations where everybody's starting to learn about everybody else and what kind of personality comes out when you get in certain situations or when you make certain mistakes. So I'm not saying that Callahan is not capable of that. But damn sure that Will Levis is not making those kind of decisions if Mike Vrabel is on the sidelines glaring back at him.
And you wonder if there's a feeling for Callahan in terms of, okay, clearly we have to adjust the way we're messaging things.
Yes.
To Will Levis. Clearly there's got to be some more guardrails put up here.
And that's
because
fine.
It's just not working.
And that's fine. Like, you can, again, it's not just grow as you go on the football field. It's grow as you go as a coaching staff. This is Callahan's first real crack at this kind of a job. So I'm not saying, the decision to move on from Vrabel was wrong and Callahan isn't capable of it. That's not what we're saying, because I know there's plenty of people are going to send us messages. Oh, you're just caping up for your boy. No. This is about the player and how the player responds. And the player is not responding to the current messaging. So change the message and change the delivery and change how you try and reach this guy. And if he cannot be reached, then get him out of there. 615-737-1045 is the number. Our buddy Ramon Foster of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is in the chat talking about the idea of, great question. So does this pick of Levis give the whole staff a mulligan on picking their guy as opposed to this being a Vrabel guy, despite this general manager picking him? Sorry, but great question, fellas. So Ramon Foster in the comments there. And listen, Callahan is not married to this dude. It's funny that you didn't want to play the Tannehill stuff from Diana when it came out, because there are some things that are apt about it in the weeks after, whether it's him taking a job elsewhere or his response. You remember what his response on Will Levis was?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Good kid. We'll see.
So does this pick of Levis give the whole staff a mulligan on picking their guy as opposed to being a Vrabel guy? Yeah, I don't think the future of Brian Callahan in Tennessee hinges on whether or not Will Levis is good.
No.
Like if Will Levis singularly,
no,
it depends on the context, right? If Will Levis singularly is making individual mental mistakes and lapses that are unique to him, and that is the thing that is holding back the Titans, I don't think big picture that gets pinned on Brian Callahan with the severity of he loses his job over it. Like, that's what this year is about, figuring out about Will Levis. If the answer is it's not Will Levis, Brian Callahan's going to get the chance to find that answer.
This is how these things go, right? Mariota was not Vrabel's guy. So then they got Tannehill, and Vrabel got their run, right? Levis is not Callahan's guy. But if Callahan stays and Levis goes and they get the guy, then the heat gets turned up and the scrutiny gets turned up on Callahan versus Levis. That's just how the dynamic shifts, as with any team, right? But this is a second-round player in his second year who fell out of the first round because decision-making and accuracy were a question, and you've hired this guy to try and rectify the state of offensive football in Tennessee, and they're still only scoring literally 17 points flat per game. In fact, they're scoring below the average of the last 2 years. They are a worse offense through 2 games than they were under Todd Downing and damn Tim Kelly. And that is not the discussion. Brian Callahan said it. Miserable. It's miserable. And he did not expect the start of the season to go this way. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll take more of your phone calls. We'll also carry Brian Callahan's press conference. That's coming up next.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. I sent Jackson a playlist this morning. I'm like, I need some feel-good music. I'm in a bad headspace. I'm sure Titans fans are too. We're going to try and pull them out of the nosedive and at least get them vibing, shaking their shoulders a little bit if you're listening with us on FM radio. If you're listening or watching on the FNM Bank chat, sorry, Stevie Wonder and his lawyers are very litigious. We are not going to take a fine for you. But we will take your phone calls in the meantime, 615-737-1045. Cheeto Awuzie and Peter Skoronski are two players speaking at the podium right now. Brian Callahan is going to be after them in about 10 minutes, so we're going to do a short segment, pivot, go to Brian Callahan's press conference, and see what the head coach has to say upon film review of that debacle yesterday against the Jets. So, 615-737-1045. Sean is up first. All right. Good talk, Sean. Let's go to...
Great point.
That is your favorite joke to make. We've all got the ones that we lean on.
Yeah, the classics.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Let's see if Mike is more prepared for the moment.
Hey, good morning, fellas.
Hey, buddy.
I thought it was a great point you made about the boneheaded plays not being there last year and Vrabel putting the fear of God in him. But the other thing I wanted to say is, guys, right now I feel like this is Ken Wisenhunt 2.0. I think they made the wrong hire at head coach. I think Denard Wilson should be the head coach of this football team. I don't know if their record would be any different, but I would feel a lot better if the head coach, the side of the ball that the head coach was in charge of, was the side that looked good. And right now the offense doesn't look good. And as Titans fans, we got to stop doing this thing where we say, oh, well, yeah, he played well except for. No, he did not play well. For every except for play that you want to discount because it was a bad play, I can point to a good play and say except for that, and it just makes it look worse. So we need to stop doing that as fans. And like I said, guys, I think you made the point last week that Denard Wilson, if this defense keeps playing like this, Denard Wilson is gone next year. And I'm going to miss him. I think he should be the head coach. That's all I got. Keep me on hold.
Keep him on hold, Jackson, if you would. But the music still comes for you either way. Think about that. We need offense. Get the offensive head coach. Wait, the offense isn't any good. Let's make the defensive coordinator the head coach. Come on. I mean, I get it. And future head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Denard Wilson, is going to hurt you, I'm sure, at some point down the line, or whomever he ends up coaching for. Because again, I said this at the start of the year. Plenty of smart football people were saying it way before I got there. If this defense produces at all, and it is, that guy's a head coach next year. So you're not going to have him for very long at this rate. So, but I can't. You made the wrong hire. It's 2 games in. Callahan, to me, gets infinitely more benefit of the doubt than the quarterback does, because Callahan can't stop Levis from doing the things that Levis is doing when we are talking about the worst decisions that Levis has. So I think that, premature on the Callahan frustration, but trust and know that I'm just as pissed watching your offense score 17 points per game again as you are, but I don't think that you can pin that on the coach yet at this point. Jael says, Buck conveniently skipped removed the captain position from Levis question. No, I just honestly forgot about it.
What question?
Somebody called in and asked if the Titans should strip Will Levis of his captaincy and make him earn it on the field before he, earns it in the offseason. Listen, it's not my call to make. The team votes on it. So if the players want Will Levis to be the captain, that's the player's decision. Malarkey is the only person that I can remember who was actively stripping players of captaincies during that time period. So not trying to gloss over it or ignore it. If the players want to vote him out as a captain, then I guess the players can vote him out as a captain. But if they're doing that in week 2, if they're having players only meetings like that in week 2, then this team is royally banged.
It did seem like a different tone hearing Ramon talk about it on Titans radio after the fumble to Tajay Spears from players on the sideline.
Calvin Ridley and Tajay.
Yeah, a little less of the, hey, you're good, man. We know you got us on the net, but in a little more of, hey, what's going on here?
Or, hey, just protect the football. Just protect the football. Take more of your phone calls here in just a little bit. Brian Callahan going to speak to the media. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Did you know you can now use your own body's healing properties to revitalize your achy joints and get you real lasting pain relief? Hey, it's Buck Rising, and I'm talking about advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. I've been telling you guys about this for years. If you are tired of arthritic pain in your knees, hips, back, or shoulder, this is something that you need to check out. Everybody's talking about regenerative medicine, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, they're experts in these amazing treatments. People here in Middle Tennessee rave about the results. You can enhance your joints, improve your mobility, and get back to doing the stuff that you love without pain, without drugs or surgery or downtime. Under the leadership of Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough using cellular therapies. They've got tens of thousands of satisfied patients, and the consultation is totally free. So call now, take action to get lasting joint pain relief with help from QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 in Nashville, Clarksville, and Murfreesboro. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Brian Callahan going to be at the podium here shortly. We'll take your phone calls. In the meantime, 615-737-1045. Let's go to Ralph up next on 1045 The Zone. Hey, Ralph.
Hey, how are you?
What's up?
Okay. If you have a chance to talk to Levis, he changes number 8, probably a better career and better luck. But yesterday, there's so many things happened. If Jeff Simmons didn't score them that penalty, maybe outcome would be different. If Landry
Hey, Ralph, your phone line is really, really tough, but I heard I heard you say Jeff Simmons and the penalty, which we're not talking about enough today, and you are 100% correct. Jeff Simmons on 3rd and 15, and I apologize to cut you off there, it wasn't listenable on radio. Jeff Simmons on 3rd and 15, the roughing the passer penalty is a killer because he's got Rodgers by the face mask, and he's talking trash to Rodgers because it's a big 3rd and 15, right? Jeff thinks he's got him off the field, and Jeff is doing the thing that Jeff always does, which is talking, right? And that's fine. But if Jermaine Johnson, because I saw some Titans fans complaining about the 3rd and 15 penalty or the call specifically, if Jermaine Johnson got a roughing the passer on Will Levis earlier in the game, Jeff Simmons is 100%. It is the correct call.
They were both the correct call.
They were both the correct call.
If there's contact with the quarterback's helmet, whether by your hand or your helmet or otherwise, it is going to get, or it should get called by the letter of the law. I'm tired of people being upset and calling things soft because maybe you disagree with what the letter of the law is, but it is indisputably the correct call.
That is the rule. The rule was the right call. The penalty led to a touchdown. The defense was good yesterday. It did not finish out the game. And again, I'm not pinning the loss on the defense, but 2 touchdowns in the second half. That play on 3rd and 15, it wasn't a complete performance, and your offense isn't capable of keeping up right now. So 17 points per game, everything magnified. Defense has to basically pitch a shutout every game when you're living that way, which is exactly the same experience that you've had the last 2 seasons, and you thought that was just a Vrabel thing, but it's not. Let's go to Benjamin on YouTube says, Buck, Jeff is behind you. Jeff knows this, man. Like, I know it's a funny joke to make or whatever, but like, Jeff understands this. Jeff is an accountable person. He was asked about this in the locker room last night. He knows. Arden Key is pointing at the flag, dragging Jeff over and pointing at the flag and saying, no, you did this. We are not off the field here. Stop talking. So I don't want to say that Jeff Simmons has to be better or the defense has to be better because the defense is good. The defense is good enough. The defense is actually much better than I expected it to be preseason.
Number 1 in the league after almost 2 weeks with 1 game to go in the NFL.
So, margin for error is razor thin, and the defense made a couple of errors that they could not afford to make yesterday. And that's just the nature of what your football team is right now. Go to Jackie up next.
What's up, guys? I was listening to your conversation earlier about Levis, and if he doesn't work out, which at the rate he's going right now, they're clearly not going to re-sign him. So, if that's the case, do you draft a quarterback this year coming up, or do you wait until next year when there might be a more talented class and take a shot at Nico or Arch? And
Jackie, you are not asking me questions about not even this upcoming draft, but 2 drafts away. Please don't. Please don't do that to me. It's September 16th, bud. Come on.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Oh, my God. Are we already at the point? Because they couldn't get Hendon Hooker. They got Will Levis. So now am I about to get a bunch of Vols fans? Just wait a couple years. Nico be out. Take the better quarterback. Do right by the Vols. Don't spit in their face this time around.
Well, speaking of that, they played Rocky Top before the game. I heard
they had
that.
Vitello.
I know. The baseball team was the 12th Titan, but sitting in here as Titans Radio is coming back for kickoff, and I did a double take. I said, is that Rocky Top?
Brian Callahan's at the podium. Maybe he'll be asked about Rocky Top.
How do you try to coach a young quarterback through, making some of the decisions that he's making under duress?
Yeah, just keep coaching him. sometimes that one surprised me again. I thought we had coached that one, and then just to see his instincts take over in that moment and that to happen the way it did was obviously clearly I was pretty upset about it. I still am. I mean, it's not something that I think is an acceptable way to play. But I think on the flip side is that Will did have a much better game than last week. I thought a lot of things he did, we saw improvement. That part was positive. I coach Will hard, but I do love him pretty hard too, and I think that that's okay. I think we can have those moments, and unfortunately, an intense moment got captured because I'm also the head coach, not just the offensive coordinator, and so those conversations don't always get caught on television, and it happens a lot, but mine happened to be in front of everybody. So I don't regret it, but I do coach Will hard, and I think he's accepting of that coaching, and I thought he did a lot of things a lot better.
What did you like better? What were some things that he
Yeah,
did?
his footwork was much better. He played on time better. He was more accurate than he was last week. He looked more settled in. He managed it better this week. I thought he was, we tried to take some shots. I think we got to be better in protection to help him. But I thought his performance was improved, and I think that's what we're after is sort of weekly improvement. And I think if you take out that really silly mistake that he made and we get 3 points there, I think you leave that game, whether we win or lose, feeling like he's made improvement. And I think that's what we're looking for.
Excuse me. Regarding that mistake, he said he has to rewire his thought process. Do you think, like, getting to that point where you are a repeat offender like that, is that something like, is that a habit that you have to break down and then reprogram? How do you approach that?
I don't know. I don't know how to approach that. That's a Will thing. It seems like all we can do is keep pointing out the situation and how to play it, how to have awareness for it, and what to do with the football. And I think at the end of the day, for him, the biggest thing is just going to be protect our team, and that's part of his job as the quarterback is to protect our team, and that means protecting the football and not putting us in a bad spot on a decision that you'd make. And again, I think it's I need to differentiate too that there's differences between like throwing an interception that happens. You can throw interceptions, you get sack fumbled sometimes. Those are all part of playing quarterback in the NFL. But it's sort of the unforced errors that have been made that are the ones that we can't have. I'm never going to react that way to Will when he throws an interception, never, because that's how it works. There's days where you make good throws, there's days where DBs make good plays. That happens. But it's the unforced errors that I think are things that he's got to do a better job of just understanding where we're at. We're in field goal range. It's a third down. The play's over. Like, you didn't get anything, it's over. Just protect the ball and let us kick the field goal, and we'll be fine. And that's okay.
What's your trust level with him right now in terms of those sorts of things?
I still trust Will, and I think we still have to keep coaching it, and he's got to keep responding to the coaching, which is what he's done since I've been here. And so that part, I have a lot of confidence and trust in. I think Will wants to be good. He wants to do the right things, and we just have to keep showing him when and where to make those decisions. And I think he'll respond in turn. So that part I don't have any reprehension about. I think he's done a good job with almost all of those things. And again, I thought we'd already gotten past the one, and another one shows up. So again, we keep coaching, keep bringing up the situation and the awareness and his ability to know that, our team ebbs and flows with him. And when we make those mistakes, they're killer. And again, the difference is it's an unforced error that he can control and not necessarily, just a good play by the defense or an aggressive throw that gets intercepted. I don't mind those things. It's the unforced ones that are maddening.
The pressure rate that he's faced so far is the highest through 2 weeks in the league. How much of that do you see on tape being his own doing, and how much is that impacting his ability to play quarterback?
Oh, the pressure impacts everything about playing quarterback. I mean, that's just what it is. We've got to do a better job there. I got to do a better job of trying to help those guys as best I can with the play calls and situations we're in. End of the game when you got to throw it. I mean, here it comes, and that's just what it is. And you got to be able to handle that. And we didn't do as good a job as I think we're capable of doing, and that's an area that has to improve. I think part of that affects the quarterback as well. I mean, it's all tied together. That's why football's a great game, is that you need everybody on offense doing their job. And for everything to look the way it's supposed to. And it's hard to overcome it if every other play there's one person that doesn't do it the way that we're supposed to. And I think we have a lot of that right now that we have to keep hammering and keep fixing so we can get all 11 guys doing things consistently.
What's a reasonable expectation for week-to-week improvement on offensive line pass protection?
I mean, it's slow and steady sometimes, and I know it's not a perfect answer, but I thought if you look at what JC did from week 1 to week 2, and I thought you look what Peter did to week 1 to week 2, that was a pretty good jump. Those guys did a nice job, and they improved, and we got to do a better job on the right side. That's where a lot of the pressure came in the game, but it's possible to improve at a good enough rate, but it's also not necessarily an overnight process. So things take time, and they take experience and reps, and that's where we're at.
When Cheeto talked to us, he talked about not panicking, trusting the process.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you are with your message to the football team?
Absolutely. It's exactly what I said to the team last night after the game. I believe in the players we have. I believe in the coaches we have. I believe in how we do things. I believe in how these guys work. I love our locker room. I really do. I think we got it. I think we have the makings, which is why I've been so confident in what I thought we could be, and it hasn't turned out that way early in the season, mainly because we made too many mistakes to be anything other than 0-2. But I believe in everything that we have here, and I believe in the players that we have. So I don't panic. We just keep pushing, and we keep our blinders on, and you just keep worrying about getting better every day. And when you get to the end of the season, we'll see where the chips fall. But there's, if you start trying to overreact to everything and make changes and do all those things that happen sometimes when you feel like things aren't going your way, I think you have to be mindful of the steadiness and not ride the roller coaster and the ups and downs. So we're going to continue on the way we do it. I believe in how we do things, and I think the results will come.
You've been preparing to be a head coach a long time. Is there any preparing for the emotions of a loss like yesterday and being the guy in charge?
No, there's not. And again, because you don't go into anything ever thinking about the worst, and not that things have been the worst, but we're 0-2, and that's not a start that we had envisioned or anticipated, and we have to find a way to play better to not be 0-3. And so our focus is going to be solely on trying to find a way to win the game this week. But yeah, those aren't the things you plan for as a head coach. Those things sometimes happen, and you just have to navigate your way through it.
You talk about not being rash with making decisions or changing anything, but you have to look long and hard at your punt protection at this point. What exactly happened yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ultimately all those things I'm in charge of, and we got to do a better job. I don't think I've ever seen back-to-back punts blocked, and both for different reasons. But they're inexcusable and unacceptable, and that falls on me at the end of the day. And we got to find a way to not get another one blocked at any point the rest of this year. So all the things are on the table on how we view it and how we practice it, how we work at it, what people we use. Those things are all on the table because we can't keep hurting our team on special teams the way we have so far, and have to find a way to help our team on special teams, and that's what we're looking at.
Did Julius seem wildly passionate about blocking his guy in that play to you?
That's an interesting way to put it, Paul. No, I think his release timing was early. He ended up getting out early. He was trying to go cover, and ultimately allowed a wide rush lane for a rusher, and he came free. So we got to worry about blocking for the punter first before we worry about covering, and that's ultimately what happened in that spot.
In both games, it's felt like the offensive line's kind of deteriorated down the stretch of the game. Do you think that's a fair evaluation, and what goes into that?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think that we got into a couple of tough spots in the second half. Couple of third and longs. We had the one third down, that 3rd and 10 that we threw to Calvin that got dropped. And then you get into a spot at the end of the game in 2-minute drill when you got to throw it, and there's not really much balance to it. And you got to win those reps, and we didn't do a good enough job, I don't think. But I wouldn't say it deteriorated. I think we just didn't execute well enough overall. Got ourselves in a 3rd and long or 2, which I think over the course of the game, early in the game, we did a really nice job. We were much improved on 3rd down this week. I thought we were much more manageable for most of those drives. Didn't have as many 3rd and longs. We were in 3rd and 6 or less, a whole lot more. That's an improvement. Our percentages in converting was improved, but we had a couple spots in the second half that slowed us down. So I wouldn't necessarily attribute it to a deterioration of that. I think we got some tough spots.
On the last series, was Calvin open enough on 1st and goal that a throw could have been made and put in there?
Yeah, you can always look back and those plays in the moment and see guys that look open or could be open. That's part of it. I think that we had some opportunities down there at the end of the game, which is all you can ask for when you're down there with a couple shots left to try to go tie it. And I think we didn't do a great job holding up in protection long enough. I think we needed another second on some of those. But I thought we had chances, and for a variety of reasons, we didn't end up coming up with the required touchdown to tie the game.
That video you mentioned earlier about kind of your reaction to Will's fumble obviously drew a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some adjustment period for you, maybe being a head coach now and knowing that the camera is going to be on you a lot more? And does that?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, I'm generally pretty composed. I think you guys have seen that for the most part. That one set me off. And I'm human like everybody else. I have blackout moments where I'll lose my mind. I try not to. I try my best to keep it together. But that one was hard for me to watch in the moment. And yeah, I got to have a little bit better awareness that there's cameras on me, and I'm not up in the box yelling at anybody. I'm right there in the front of everything, and the cameras are pointed right at me. So probably a little bit of a lesson learned for me in that regard. Don't regret my feelings about it, but yeah, I'm sure there's some things I could probably do better when it comes to that.
Why do you need to be different there? What's wrong with that? You're being human in the moment. Everyone's thinking that.
Sure.
What's wrong with it?
I don't think anything's wrong with it. I don't want to get to points where like I stand up a player on television and I make it about them and not about us. And I think those things. I could do a better job with that. I'm not going to promise you that I'm going to be able to every time. I am emotional enough at times, especially on game day, where when things go wrong, you get either excited or you get angry, and that's how it happens. But I don't want to do that to Will. That's not fair to Will in that particular case. So yeah, it's not how I want to be perceived and considered. I think outside of this, I think people that don't know me and that's the only thing they see is that. So yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. I don't regret my feelings about it and how I felt in the moment. I just think I can do a better job. Just like I ask our players to control their emotions, I probably should control mine a little bit.
Have you and Will talked about that moment since, or is that just something that's talked about in these rooms on social media?
I mean, I think no. I mean, there's not. I told him right before the next series, "Hey man, I love you. I'm not bad at you. We'll just keep moving." And so, yeah, it's just I think it's a natural flow of an NFL game and. Again, it got caught on camera because I'm in charge of the offense and the football team, and so that I'm much more visible than your average offensive coordinator might be. So those conversations happen all the time. Those things get said all the time. It's probably not unique, but as the head coach, not the offensive coordinator in that moment. Yeah, those things are pretty normal.
Ernest obviously played a lot more yesterday. How'd you like what you saw from him and how he impacted the defense?
Yeah, he's getting more and more comfortable and understanding the scheme more and really doing a nice job. He's shown up for us. He's been it's why we traded for him. As we thought he was a guy that could be impactful for us in the middle linebacker spot between him and Kenneth. And those guys have played really good football, the two of them. And having Ernest be able to get more and more comfortable, I think you're starting to see his play speed and his ability to read, diagnose, and react to what's happening and make plays have helped us. And I think it's going to continue to help us as the season goes on. So I'm really happy that we have him.
How much more frustrating, or does it make it more frustrating to have the loss be like basically the same movie you watched last week? The block punt, carelessness with the football, no turnovers, control of the game for the most part. How much more frustrating is it?
It's the same amount of frustration, I think. But for us right now, we've got to find ways to eliminate some of the errors that are hurting our chances to win the game. Because I think we have a good football team. I think we can be competitive, and we've been competitive. But I think we can. It's more than being competitive. We're trying to win, and we've been in position to win both of these games. And ultimately, our own errors have put us at a detriment, and we haven't been able to win because of that. And so we have to clean up those things. We have to do what's required on each play, and sometimes that's all you need to do. And it's take care of the football, find a way to get a turnover or two on defense, and not get punts blocked. And I think that we're going to be in a much better place. I'd like to see what a game would look like when we don't turn the ball over. and what we would look like. And I think we would look pretty good, to be honest. And so we just got to keep hammering those points home and keep detailing our fundamentals and be good at the basics. You know,
there was another video clip kind of making rounds about Traylon Burks and the catch that he wasn't able to come up with, and it sort of talked about how maybe he didn't high point the ball well enough and didn't use his size well enough. I was curious to get your reaction to that, and if you thought that was on target.
Yeah, I thought the ball was probably in a spot where he couldn't go all the way up to go get it. It was he had to go turn back, and as he turned back, the defender was running through him, and so he put himself up where he could go get the ball as the defender was playing through his body, and they end up coming to the ground. And I've seen this happen before. It's pretty normal. It's just how do you secure the ball as you come to the ground. And really what happened is he sort of got lucky, the defender, as he got his arm stuck in between and they went to the ground. Traylon went down backwards. He went down on top and he just rolled over with the ball in his hands. A little bit of a fluky play to some degree. Would love to see Trey make that play, come down with it, just secure it, hold it, and trap his arm in there with it if he had to. But ultimately, it didn't work that way. Again, I thought it was a good aggressive throw, put it up in a spot where we could go get it, and I thought we were close to getting it. And though that was one where they got up, and I thought we caught it. I didn't realize that they had pulled the ball off. So kind of disappointing in that regard, but I wouldn't say it was really a fault of anybody, just how the ball landed on the body.
How's a 179-pound guy stealing it from a 225-pound guy?
It really wasn't. He didn't really steal it from him. It was more as they came down and he hit the ground. He was already on top, and he just sort of rolled over with the ball. It wasn't.
Who's he there? Burks?
The defender, Eccles, I think it was. Yeah. As he landed down on top of him, the ball just sort of was in his. It was just right there, and as he rolled over, it just happened to be in his hands. So, yeah, I'd like to see us make that play and take that ball away, and we didn't.
Potentially seeing Malik on Sunday, he obviously knows you guys, you know him. What are the kind of dynamics when that happens, when you know each other so well?
I think there's probably a small advantage in him knowing enough about our people and our scheme and all those things. Obviously played against our defense for an entire training camp and off season, so there's some things that he probably knows that the average player coming to play wouldn't. So there's probably a small informational advantage there. He knows the personnel, which is always good for a quarterback to have some familiarity. But I'm truthfully, I'm proud of Malik. I'm happy for him that he found a way to go in there and win that game. That was really cool to see for him, and he's did a nice job for him. And we're going to have our work cut out for us. They ran the ball like crazy. They did a great job. Malik did a really nice job of taking care of the football and giving them a chance to win the football game. So excited for Malik, and hopefully that we play better than they do on Sunday.
Comparing Will's passing chart from the two games this year to last year, the amount of him pushing the ball downfield is down pretty significantly, but then you look comparing him this year to the rest of the league, his ADOT's still really high, like top 5. So two things. One, how much of that is your scheme not wanting or not needing to push the ball downfield nearly as much, and how much of that is the increase in the too high safety rate we've seen across the league this year?
Yeah, it's a combination, certainly. We tried to push the ball a handful of times in this game for sure. And the way that I talked to Will about it is I'm going to call play action shots, and if we don't have one, then you just check it down. And I'll call another one. And we did that quite a few times, and we ended up with, a handful of checkdowns. And it wasn't for the lack of trying to push the ball down the field. They just do a good job, or the rush gets there quick, and he's just getting the ball out of his hands and playing football the way that he needs to. That part was encouraging. He did a really nice job of managing that part of the play action game and the deep ball game. I tried to stay as aggressive as I could. We took shots down the field. I called shots down the field, and sometimes they don't go there, and sometimes they do. So I don't think it is I think it's hard to compare. And I think that we're going to still be an aggressive style offense. I still want the ball down the field. Will does that well. But, I think 2 games in is kind of been a mixed bag. There's been some good, some bad, and some throws down the field we need to make, and maybe I need to call a few more.
How much did they cover DeAndre well? How much did you maybe not dial him up? How much did Will maybe miss him? How much is his knee a factor in this?
He's coming along. I think Hop will be good. I called a handful of plays with him as the primary, and the ball didn't go to him on those couple ones. They did a nice job on a particular play of passing off the route. Yeah, I'm going to keep – I got to do a better job of getting him involved. I got a better job of getting him targets. So that's really where we're at. I'm getting to know him still. Obviously, he missed training camp, and so I'm trying to make sure that I put him in the spots that he's going to be best for, and we'll keep working through that. But I got to do a better job of getting him involved earlier and more often. So that's ultimately on me.
Calvin had a good game yesterday, and obviously, I'm sure you'd love to hit all the shots to him. But is yesterday a pretty good example of what he can be? As you keep taking those shots, and maybe you don't hit 3 or 4, but one can be a game-changing type of play with him.
Yeah, that's what we brought him in for, is to be able to provide that sort of spark and energy. He's incredibly fast and explosive, and so we're trying to find every which way we can to use that. The best example of is the touchdown, late in the game, where all we needed was just something. We needed someone to make a big play for us, and Calvin did. And that to me is the mark of what you want in your receivers, is when we got to turn the momentum and we need a huge play. He's up to the task, and he's not afraid of any corner he goes against. He can beat anybody that lines up on him. He's been a really nice addition to our offense, and I kind of love everything about what he does and how he does it.
One more on the Burks shot. Was that a play designed specifically for Traylon to be running that route, or is that just kind of the receiver that was on the field situation?
That was designed for Trey, because we needed vertical speed and vertical lift to get that part of the defense lifted, and you got Calvin coming across on a high cross, so it's a true top-down read where you're taking a peek, and if you got leverage on the pylon route, which we did, you can take a shot at it, and it's really just it's a top-down 3-level throw where we had Calvin on the high cross and we had a player in the flat, and so it's meant to be aggressive. It's meant to take a shot down the field, and we use Trey's speed to try to help make that third level very viable, and I thought it was.
It looks as if Levis has had a number of screen attempts this year. Is that accurate? Are you seeing anything in particular?
I think we dirted 2 screens.
That is Brian Callahan at the podium. We will react to what he had to say coming up next.
It is 12:03. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The Titans are 0-2 after Sunday's 24-17 loss to the New York Jets at Nissan Stadium. Titans had a 10-7 lead at halftime, but were outscored in the first half. The Jets took the lead with a 20-yard Braylon Allen touchdown run with over 4 minutes to go. The Titans' final drive ended inside the Jets' 15 with an incompletion on fourth down. Will Levis, 19 of 28 on the day for 192 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and one fumble. Brian Callahan spoke just a few minutes ago about his quarterback as they look ahead to week 3.
Yeah, his footwork was much better. He played on time better. He was more accurate than he was last week. He looked more settled in. He managed it better this week. I thought he was, we tried to take some shots. I think we got to be better in protection to help him. But I thought his performance was improved, and I think that's what we're after is sort of weekly improvement.
In NFL news, the Dolphins are signing quarterback Tyler Huntley off the Ravens practice squad as Tua Tagovailoa deals with a concussion. The Titans will visit the Dolphins for Monday Night Football in 2 weeks. Tonight on Monday Night Football, the 1-0 Eagles host the 0-1 Falcons. Kickoff is set for 7:15. Westwood One coverage on The Zone starts at 7. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour is upon us on this Monday. Welcome in. How we feeling? We've been through 2 hours of Sad Boy Radio. Titans fall 24-17. We're going to keep it going. We'll get you through it. We'll get you ready. We'll get you as mentally ready as humanly possible to host Malik Willis and the victorious Green Bay Packers. I didn't get a chance to see that game in its entirety, sitting in the press box covering the Titans game yesterday, but I heard sources say that Malik Willis threw his first career touchdown pass in a Green Bay Packers uniform yesterday, Lucas, and so I'm sure Titans fans have a little bit of BTS, battered Titan syndrome, swirling in the back of their heads, getting ready to host the former quarterback this weekend.
Not just Malik Willis, Braden Narvison, also very responsible for the Packers win over the Colts.
I didn't see what level of contribution Titans legend Andre Dillard had in the victory over the Indianapolis Colts for the Green Bay Packers, but you already let Todd Downing get his revenge against you yesterday. Todd Downing, Keith Carter, and Tony Dews all on the sideline or in the box for the Jets yesterday.
Oh, is this just a revenge tour now? You had Kevin Byard, Kari Blasingame, Nate Davis, all the former Titans.
Jason Hoteling.
That played for the Bears,
Matt
right?
Pease.
And then you get Todd Downing, and then this coming week, obviously, Malik, Narvison, and Dillard.
And then, of course, Matt LaFleur, the former offensive coordinator, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers.
And you get David Long in week 4.
The BTS is strong, baby. If Lucas has saged away his BVS, his battered Vols syndrome, because Nico Iamaleava, and really more that defense, are going to help propel the Vols to a potential national championship run, then the BTS is strong in the bones of Titans fans right now. You get one, but you can't have them. It's just, you can't have nice things all at once, right? The Vols can't be good at the same time as the Titans are good. The Titans can't be good at the same time that the Vols are good, it would seem. So there is some football hope to be had, but it just happens to be in the college football side of things for the state, except, Vanderbilt. Oh, Vandy. I just want to, in the same way that I wanted to just hug a Titans fan to make them feel better yesterday, because I just feel bad for you guys at this point. I do have a Vandy fan that I work with every day, Jim Wyatt. We were in the booth getting ready to do our Titans radio pregame hit. I said, Jimmy. He said, don't even talk to me about it. That, and he had TCU in his confidence pool, and Mac was not pleased with the way that they blew that game.
I imagine you outside of Nissan Stadium after Titans games with like a little lemonade stand, cardboard sign saying free hugs.
Free hugs.
Free hugs. Yeah. No free hugs to be had yesterday. So, you heard from Brian Callahan and the press conference there. And the question that this hour is basically going to be about: was Will Levis better on Sunday than he was against the Chicago Bears? Now, Lucas, if you would bring back your tweet from yesterday, if you would read it on the air, because you had some pushback, it looked like, in your replies, I have a little bit of pushback, though I largely agree with the sentiment, even though the Titans lose a game damn near the exact same way without some of the just outright kicking the nuts elements that the Bears game had.
Yeah, I said after the game, undeniable progress from Will Levis and the Titans today, but it's insane that we're coming away talking about a needless turnover and a blocked punt again. And understandably, there was pushback. I expected that, right? No, he didn't get better. There was no progress from Will Levis. It's the same old stuff. And it is, largely, because they lost the game, in large part due to many of the same reasons. But there was progress. Brian Callahan just talked about it in his press conference. Outside of the bonehead fumble and obviously some missed reads, Will Levis was better. He was better in week 2 than he was in week 1. The problem is Will Levis can continue to improve week to week to week, but if he can't get rid of the mistakes, it does not matter how much better he's getting. It doesn't matter if he's going to keep giving the game away.
Thomas West on YouTube. You can interact with the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. If you want to live stream us today, if you want to call in, 615-737-1045. We had loaded lines and then the press conference, so some of you dropped off. If you want to get back in, you have the opportunity to do so. Thomas West says, wait, we saw a replay. We played a new game on Sunday? ? Yes, I can confirm. So, was he better on Sunday? The head coach, and you'll hear from Brian Callahan, we'll play you that clip back from the press conference because it was one of the first answers that he gave about whether or not he felt Will Levis was better. But the only pushback that I would provide to you, Lucas, is that my evaluation from him is not just first week to second week. My evaluation of him starts from Atlanta through yesterday. And on the whole, the decision-making from the first 9 starts that this player had to the most recent 2 starts that this player had is worse than it was a year ago. Now, he is in a new offense. He is working with a new coaching staff. There is some element of reset the board type of stuff.
I believe you used the word clean slate this past offseason.
I think that is still apt, but it doesn't, just because you grant players, Treylon Burks was granted a clean slate. Treylon Burks is still being granted a clean slate from this coaching staff, but that does not outright erase who you have been in your past. It influences the way that you look at these people into the future. So, while Will Levis, under a new coaching staff, and Treylon Burks and Peter Skoronski and whomever else you would pick, I do think deserves a new slate type of situation, I can also go back and look at the decisions that were not being made in 2023 versus the decisions that are being made and harming the football team in 2024 and saying undeniable progress is not how I would categorize this player. Now, from game to game, from week 1 to week 2 of 2024, I will agree with your assessment. The disaster play did not result in points. The defense didn't allow a touchdown. They didn't allow a field goal after Will Levis coughed up the fumble. So, theoretically, improvement.
Yeah, I mean, still not good enough, right? Like the disaster play ultimately did not allow you to put 3 points on the board. That play was done. It was shot. He was getting sacked. Titans would have just kicked a chip shot field goal. It would have been 10-0. So the disaster play, as opposed to last week where the disaster literally lost you the game because it handed them the game-winning touchdown, this just did not allow you to kick a field goal to go up 10-0 in a game that you eventually lost 24-17. Week 1 to week 2, there was undeniable progress. The question is, how would we be talking about Will Levis today if not for the fumble? One of the most WTF are you doing moments in most Titans fans' lives. And the answer is probably still not all that positively.
Because he missed the touchdown to tie it at the end.
Right. Like he doesn't see Calvin Ridley going through the middle of the end zone. Now, with that said, he puts it on the money for Ridley on that deep ball down the right sideline. Ridley can't catch it through his hands. Next play, block punt. Jets turned that into points, right? Levis did a good job getting them into the red zone. He did a good job putting the ball into the hands of his playmakers. By halftime, he had targeted 8 different players. He had connected with 7. Even on the last drive, right? He spins out of pressure and he has a big chunk play run to get them to the 10-yard line. And then he doesn't hit Ridley. And then he doesn't throw it to the goal line on that last play for Tyler Boyd. So for everything good, there did feel like there was a negative. The bar was crazy low last week, but there was progress week 1 to week 2. Is that good enough right now for Titans fans? It doesn't have to be because of just how bad the mistakes have been.
No, you can acknowledge that on the whole, there were incremental improvements from the quarterback and still be pissed and dissatisfied with the product itself because it is a losing product right now and has been for some time. I want to get to this clip, and then we're going to react to it coming up next. Will Levis was asked a question about his decision-making, okay? The answer that he gave was, to me, a little bit jarring. Well, you know what? Let's just save it all for coming up next because I have a lot of thoughts on the way that he answered this question. You're also going to hear from Brian Callahan on the improvements that he saw Will Levis make, even though the Titans still fell 24-17. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. There's one team in Middle Tennessee that never lets me down. It's Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford has been in Middle Tennessee as a locally owned and operated business for over 40 years. They are the standard when it comes to how business should be done. They are one of the biggest volume Ford dealers in the country, not because they're corporate, they're locally owned and operated, but because they just do business the right way. Customer service, they win awards for it. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, the product cannot be matched. And Two Rivers Ford also has a non-commissioned sales team that does not put any pressure on you throughout the course of the car buying experience, which makes it faster, easier, and more fun. I'm a Two Rivers Ford customer. Coach Mack is a Two Rivers Ford customer. Ramon Foster, Don Davenport, DeAndre Hopkins, and so many other millions of Middle Tennesseans over the course of the last 4 decades, more than 4 decades, that Two Rivers Ford has been doing business. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They are the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So the question is being posed, was the quarterback better on Sunday than he was against the Chicago Bears in a disastrous loss? This loss, not quite as disastrous, but definitely leaves Titans fans with a less than good vibe or less than good feel about their quarterback. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join the conversation.
It is the most WTF are you doing feeling I have personally ever had watching any sports game. Truly.
Any?
I don't think. Help me out. Is there another one? I don't think.
Jarek Garantano calling his own number at Alabama 2019.
There's no way you were as mad yesterday watching Will Levis do that as you were watching your favorite team or your quarterback go rogue against Alabama on the road with the opportunity to try. I mean, maybe they don't win the game either way, but like Jeremy Pruitt and JG.
Okay. I have to give you that. Garantano calling his own number, going rogue with the QB sneak at Alabama.
JG, 2 pick sixes in a row against Kentucky.
But that's just Jarek Garantano not being good at playing quarterback. That is different. It's different from what in the world are you thinking here? So I put the Levis mistake yesterday with the Garantano at Alabama play.
I heard you were mad.
Well, we're in here. We have Titans radio on, right? And the game is on the TV because I'm preparing for my post-game duty. Zach's preparing for his. And obviously the radio is in real time. We take the delay out, so we're listening in real time. The TV is about a play behind. So I hear Mike Keith say, that there's a fumble. And you kind of drop your head like, okay, well, they turned it over. Here you go. And then you get a chance to see it on the TV, knowing what's about to happen on the TV. And I did not.
You could not have.
In my wildest dreams. And Mike talks about the mistake from the quarterback. And I'm hearing Coach Mack saying, you just can't do that. And yet still, in my wildest imagination, did I not imagine it could be that bad. Of going to the ground and just flailing it out there like you're playing backyard football. It was a backyard football play in the NFL that cost your team points.
Yeah, enough of the hero ball phrase, right? Backyard football. Or just, I hate to go back to a Vrabalism, but dumb stuff that hurts the team.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Dumb stuff that hurts the team. So, the question is being posed by... What?
I'm just getting more. I just got a text. Joe Milton running out of bounds as time expired against Ole Miss. That's a good one. That's another one.
That is a perplexing play, man. Well, but you had already resigned defeat in that game, right? Didn't you leave that game early?
Oh, I did. I had left that game. It was delayed. There was a pause for like 40 minutes for the throwing stuff on the field.
Golf balls at Lane's head.
And I was disgusted. I said, let's get out of here.
I watched that final play from outside the stadium because they ejected the entire student section.
I also watched it from outside the stadium.
You probably deserve to be ejected.
Nope. I was playing dodge bottle because they were coming from
I was playing dodge bottle?
I was third row, and it was not a fun experience.
Oof.
The rest of the game was. Not that part.
So, back to the Titans. Back to Levis.
I'll tell you what he did do on Sunday. He avoided contact for the first time in his career.
Callahan got to the podium last night and goes, he slid, if anybody noticed. And I wanted to say, well, Brian, he didn't really slide. He kind of dove.
But you'll take it.
He dove.
But you'll take it.
I will. But not after that. You can't hit me with he slid, if anybody cares. After it made me giggle in the press conference.
Don't act like everybody wasn't looking around. Like, he did it. He did it. He went down. He avoided contact.
So, instead of hearing, though, from Brian Callahan, let me start with Will Levis. The question to the audience is, did the quarterback in week 2 play better than he did in week 1? Levis was asked a question last night about his decision-making. I believe Nick Suss of the Tennessean asked him the question. The answer was jarring to me. Here's Will Levis.
I'd like to first say I didn't mean to say that we can't do that we haven't done, but no, it's got to be something that's more second nature to me, and I'm going to do everything I can to rewire my brain to make sure that when I'm in those situations, I'm not making those decisions. And I think throughout my career I've gotten a lot better of not forcing things, or at least forcing balls into windows, but that's a different kind of play. It's something that is not going to show up as much, but is obviously much more important because the ball is put in jeopardy and have opportunity for the other team to get the ball. So I'm going to keep working to just be better for my team.
My brother in Christ, you cannot be talking to me as a 25-year-old quarterback in your second NFL season about rewiring your brain. What does that even mean at this point in your career? Are we talking about like electroshock therapy? Like we're just going to put a shock collar on you out there when you're on 3rd and goal in the 6 so that you don't do the heave play? Rewiring your brain? I don't even know how to process that. This is the thing that I get caught up on when we talk about quarterbacks' age coming out of the draft. Because you remember we had this conversation with not just Levis, but with Hooker. Like teams kind of skeptical of the age of Hendon Hooker. And it's not about the number associated with the age, right? It's about how much more this player stands to grow and develop versus how much of a finished product or as close to a finished product of them are they going to be? Will Levis is a formed human being at 25 years old. Now, does it mean that he can't make better decisions or that he won't make better decisions? Yes, he can improve his decision making.
And we know he's capable of going a long stretch without doing that because we saw it last year. For whatever reason, we saw that last year. And now it's twice in 2 games in his second year.
But but you know, some of this stuff, because like last year, okay, he was throwing interceptable passes.
Oh, sure. No, it's not that he wasn't without mistakes.
And he was running, he was running recklessly. But the conversation has pivoted, no? Because when you knew your season was lost, and now you're just trying to get excited about something. And Will Levis is the new quarterback. He's the starting quarterback now. That's going to give you some kind of promise in the future. The Titans fan base felt like it was galvanized by him making quote unquote hero ball / backyard ball plays. Yes? Now, when he's the guy and it's much less experimental and the games of consequence are not in week, I don't know when Miami was, week 15, week 16, maybe week 14. I can't remember off the top of my head, but not late in the season when the season is out of hand. Thank you, Jackson. Week 14. But in week 1 and week 2, I do not want to hear from the quarterback, I'm going to try and rewire my brain. Brian Callahan was asked about that today. He goes, he didn't want to comment on it because he said, Levis, Will is going to answer. That's a better question for Will. I can't comment on how to rewire Will Levis's brain. But if that's the kind of conversation that we're having when you are as formed at this point in your career as you are, that's the most damning part of all of this. Because I don't trust you to do it. How could you trust him to do it? After watching the things that you've seen, and yes, he finally dives or slides and avoids contact, which is okay, progress, right? It's not. But Lucas, when he's missing Calvin Ridley for the game-tying touchdown with 48 seconds, what's he do? He takes off and he gets cracked by a defensive back.
Yeah, sure,
Cracked.
Absolutely. Again, even if he doesn't have the fumble. Like when I say he played better, it does not mean that if you take away the fumble, it's all great. They could definitely still lose that game if you just take away the fumble, because all you're doing by taking away the fumble is giving the Titans 3 points in a game that they lost by 7, right? It's not like the Jets took that fumble and marched down the field. The Jets went 3 and out with the Harold Landry sack and punted it back to the Titans after that fumble. So for everything good, there was something bad. He had a tight window throw to Tyler Boyd over the middle, right? And there's the fumble. He does a good job getting them down the field at the end of the first half with the wheel route to Tony Pollard that's helped by a defensive penalty, Nick Folk field goal, and then you can't sustain that in the second half. Yes, for everything good, there is something that you can take away from Will Levis, and that wasn't the case with Aaron Rodgers, the antithesis of Will Levis, right? 25-year-old quarterback figuring it out in his second year, 40-year-old Hall of Famer, who was not spectacular. He made 3 or 4 throws where they are Aaron Rodgers throws, but he didn't make any mistakes. None. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't great. He wasn't oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is back.
But he was clean.
He was clean. He didn't make any mistakes. And in the moments where he needed to most, he was throwing dimes where only his guy could get it in good coverage.
It's not just the decisions that he made. It's the opportunities that he missed. And a part of that is also 5 3-and-outs that gassed your defense and allowed a good defense, it looks in the early going at least, while they're healthy, like one of the league's better defenses. You had them gassed in the second half of the game. They give up 2 touchdowns, and then you have, no margin for error on a 3rd and 15 where Jeff has a roughing the passer penalty, and it ends up leading to one of those scores. 615-73, Steve Lamb in the comment section. Rewiring your brain is often talked about in addiction recovery circles. It's an important part of recovery and takes years. He didn't mean it probably as literally as I am taking it. I understand some of you probably think I'm overreacting with this. But again, it's not just about the comment. It's about the fact that we've been talking to him for now several starts about not taking unnecessary contact, and he just stopped doing it, or in one game showed that he might not do it against the New York Jets when there have been multiple opportunities for him to correct the behavior. There have been multiple opportunities for him to correct the behavior, and it has taken, to date, he's not been capable of doing it. I don't trust him. As a football player, I don't trust him. And so now I'm being asked, or if you're a fan, you're being asked to place your trust in the quarterback to rewire his thinking in real time when things are moving 1,000 miles an hour around him to make better decisions. I don't know how even if he is, I don't doubt his genuineness at all. But I don't trust him to be able to get it done. That's why that comment's so jarring to me. 615-737-1045 is the number. We can take some of your phone calls as well. Let's hear from Brian Callahan. This was earlier in the press conference about the idea of, did he play better from one game to the next? This was the head coach.
Yeah, his footwork was much better. He played on time better. He was more accurate than he was last week. He looked more settled in. He managed it better this week. I thought he was, we tried to take some shots. I think we got to be better in protection to help him. But I thought his performance was improved, and I think that's what we're after is sort of weekly improvement. And I think if you take out that really silly mistake that he made and we get 3 points there, I think you leave that game, whether we win or lose, feeling like he's made improvement.
That seemed begrudging, but, an acknowledgement of some areas that are easier to ignore when the mistakes are much more glaring about where Will Levis is improving. So the question is, how much patience is the coaching staff going to have with him? And frankly, something we're not talking about with all this, how much patience is the ownership going to have with him?
For this season? In terms of his leash this season,
I don't know.
Long term?
I just saw an owner get fed up, fire a coaching staff, clear out everybody and say, we've got Lombardi expectations and bringing this in. And her team is still scoring 17 points per game. I'm sure she is not happy with how things have gone to date and that specific player.
Yes. Look, again, though, that's what you say when you fire a coaching staff that has lost 11 of their last or 17 of their last 23, whatever it was. But it depends on how the results go. And if we're talking about this season actually being about finding out what you have in Will Levis, is the goal of the season to win 9 games, to get into the playoffs, to compete for every game that you're in? Or is the goal of the season to find out what you have in your quarterback before you make the decision to pay him or not? It's probably closer to the second one, right? So how many more games do they need to feel like they have an answer on that? To me, that's the answer on the Will Levis, how long is his leash question. Because it is a fair argument. If Mason Rudolph, hypothetically, were starting for this team in the first 2 weeks, there is a good argument that the Titans are 2-0, at worst 1-1. But it's about Levis more so than it is the totality of the results this season. That's what the season is about. So if you see incremental progress, and then there's a breakthrough at midseason, but the Titans are still, below 500, how are we talking about things then?
615-737-1045 is how you join. Let's go to Wyatt, who's up next.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. So I appreciate the call. Love the show the past few weeks. It's been a chaotic time with Levis and everything. Just want to tell y'all the show's been great. So I appreciate that. Quick hypothetical question. This one's not quite as delusional as the 2 years from now drafting Nico hypothetical, but it's a very possible short-term hypothetical. Regarding this Sunday, Malik Willis seems like the probable starter. It doesn't seem like they'll rush back Jordan Love after being doubtful this past week. I mean, it's possible Love plays, but it seems somewhat likely that Malik Willis will play. Just hypothetically, Malik Willis outplays Will Levis at quarterback, throws dimes on the Titans, comes into Nissan Stadium, beats the team that cuts him a month ago, with the already delusional and upset Titans fan base that we have. Will that be the most demoralizing loss that we've had in recent memory if Malik Willis outplays Will Levis? And strictly hypothetical, just curious y'all's thoughts. I know y'all will talk about it more in the upcoming week, but just hypothetical, possible in 6 days. Curious y'all's thoughts. Thanks.
Thanks, Wyatt. No, I was covering the Bengals 2021 playoff game.
Most demoralizing since then, if this were to happen? Like, I think to the Cleveland
the way
game.
that the Cleveland game was, they had no shot, right?
Yeah.
The Jags lost with Dobbs because you had it, and then the officiating bogged you down and it kept you from going to the playoffs. It would have stopped the bleeding of 7 straight losses that season, or I guess at that point before the Jags lost 6 straight losses to end the 2022 season. No. I mean, would it feel bad if Malik came in here and got you? I mean, it would feel bad no matter what Malik looked like if the Packers came in here with Malik as the quarterback and won the football game, the way that they did yesterday against the Colts.
It would be extremely demoralizing if the Packers and Malik Willis beat the Titans. I promise you, it's not going to be because Malik Willis is throwing for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's not what the scenario would be.
I need you to clip that.
Go ahead. I'll take.
He's still yet to pay off his Kentucky bet of Caleb Farley immediately being on somebody's practice squad because he's a former first-round pick. So he's very comfortable with these declaratives.
Believe me when I say I am more than happy to take that risk.
Believe me when I say.
The point is, what would be demoralizing is if the Packers just don't lose the game. If Malik Willis just doesn't give the game away and Levis does. That is your worst case scenario for this coming Sunday.
Correct. Why would you even put that out into the atmosphere? The problem with that question is the Titans have had so many damn demoralizing losses, not even in recent memory, just in the last calendar year that you could pull from that might rival what that game would feel like. But no, the thing that I feel like most broke this franchise into the spiral that it's been is that Bengals playoff game. Things have not felt right. The vibes have been off since the Tannehill interception trio. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. The number. We'll update some polls. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. Holy hell. We got some breaking news coming back from the NFL coming out of this break. Jackson, give me the Laser Light Show.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
Tom Pelissero, 35 seconds ago. Sources. The Panthers are benching former number 1 overall pick Bryce Young and starting Andy Dalton beginning this week. Coach Dave Canales has repeatedly said, quote, Bryce is our quarterback, but with the season quickly slipping away, Canales decided to make a change. Are you kidding me? Uh-oh. Titans fans are going to see that one. Levis on the bench.
The Panthers, after 2 games,
terrible,
look like they might be the worst team in NFL history. They have not been even remotely in either of these games. I mean, they were dusted over the weekend. Week 1 is against the Saints, and look, the Saints went into Dallas and put a whooping on the Cowboys. Just romped all over Dallas, ended a 16-game regular season home winning streak in Jerry World, but the Panthers just looked dreadful again against the Chargers. And Bryce Young this season is 31 of 56, completing 55% of his passes for 245 yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He's been sacked 6 times.
That's the worst trade in NFL history, right? No, Deshaun Watson is still out there.
Well, there's a few. I mean, Russell Wilson, and you can go all the way back to Herschel Walker. I mean, people are going to start throwing you stuff from over the decades.
Herschel Walker is regarded as one of the worst trades in the history of sport, if not the worst trade in NFL history.
Yeah.
The Deshaun Watson trade right now, and did they win?
Yeah, he was good.
He was good?
Yeah, he was much better against Jacksonville.
Okay.
18-13, he didn't light it up by any stretch. He didn't look good is a strong word.
Oh, well, they beat the Jags, and I heard Lawrence imploded. I haven't seen that game yet.
Lawrence wasn't good either. He was not as bad as he was in week 1.
The Deshaun Watson trade, pending still, but there is an argument for that being the worst trade in NFL history, given the guaranteed money that's associated and the level of quarterback play they've gotten in return. But the Bears and the Panthers, that deal for Bryce Young is the number 1 overall pick, and everything that's happened since with Chicago getting Caleb Williams and, the results yet to be determined on him, obviously, but benched in the second week into the second season of his career with a whole new coaching staff? Brother.
They play at the Raiders this weekend.
I saw tweets going around, and I had to make sure that I wasn't getting fooled by the internet. Maybe you guys saw this too, where he's being asked about how the level of faith that he's got and stuff around him, and he diverted to his faith in a higher power, and the fact that the quarterback is talking about his faith in a higher power 2 weeks into the football season is a bit alarming, raising some red flags.
It's a bad situation right now in Carolina. It's a really bad situation. I mean,
how old is Andy Dalton?
36.
Is that it?
Yeah, compared to some guys, he's a spring chicken compared to the guy that just came in and beat the Titans on Sunday.
615-737-1045. Last call for phone calls. Let's go to Jim. All right, good talk, Jim. Let's go to Eric.
Hey, guys. So first off, sorry if you can't understand me. I sound like I smoked a pack of cigarettes this morning as I'm 23 years old. I thought the Vols and Titans game this weekend, but I want to skip away from the Titans' depression that they've caused me and my voice, and I want to talk about the Vols. How about them Vols? The defense is looking great. The running backs are looking great. Nico's looking good. We're 6th in the nation going into Norman, Oklahoma this weekend, and vibes couldn't be higher. Buck, you're always talking, how's morale? Morale for the Titans is terrible, but the Vols is great. Hey, go Vols, baby. Let's go.
Look at you. What was the final margin? Kent State.
71-0. We're going to do a segment tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Tennessee versus Kent State by the numbers. Because there are some numbers from this game. Let me tell you, from that week 3 win, man, I mean, you've got... Let me say, too, Kent State might be the worst team to ever go into Neyland Stadium. I think I believe that.
Brother, that's the worst team I've ever seen in college football.
Yeah. No, it was rough.
That's the worst center I've ever seen in college football.
It was rough. But my goodness, are the numbers drastic from that one.
So you told me that Jimmy Hyams reported this about the Kent State. I was not aware of this because I texted Josh Pate. Pate may be in Oklahoma.
He is. He announced he is going to Oklahoma for his whole new Saturday
Trying
tour.
to get Pate in here. So I texted Pate on Saturday during that game. I said, I have never felt more pity for a college football team than I do for Kent State right now because I just felt bad. And I texted him, how is this legal? He said, Tennessee offered to shorten the second half quarters and Kent's coach refused. So if they die, they die.
Hey, Matt, respect for Kent State.
Woo!
Respect for Kent State. No, I have
Get
to respect
out of there.
that.
No.
I have to respect that.
That coach is so fired. So fired.
He made an offering to him. We'll shorten the quarters. We'll do a running clock. He said no.
Wait, Liam Neeson. Where is he? And I'll be curious to see how Liam answers. No, not yet, damn it. What do you want?
I forgot it.
He's in our
Just
ear.
a stellar end of the show for you.
He's in our ear. I got something here.
Are those the two contributions that you've made to the show today on the air?
No, I've had some other things. Remember Dodge Bottle?
Just give me the damn poll so I can go home. Kent State. Somebody just said never forget Dodge Bottle.
Polls are presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What is the most hate WTF are you doing moment in Titans history? Some good responses here. Adam says Darius Raynaud's safety on the kickoff. Never forget that one. Austin says trading A.J. Brown, and it's not even close.
That's a good one.
Jeff says Vince Young throwing his pads into the stands. That is a good one. Plenty of good stuff. Some people in here saying Adrian, saying firing Vrabel. But a lot of people did have that reaction when that news came down. A lot of people were happy as well. But Will Levis, Brian Callahan said it all, both on the field after the game and I'm sure at some point after the fact as well. Hey, WTF are you doing?
The Tannehill game against the Bengals, the A.J. Brown trade, although a lot of you, revisionist history, because a lot of you supported the A.J. Brown trade in real time because you were citing his availability. He is out tonight with a hamstring injury, but he has gone 2 seasons without missing a game.
Yeah, that game on the Zone tonight, by the way, 7:15, Eagles and Falcons. Which loss felt worse, Bears or Jets? 82.3% are saying the Bears.
Yeah, it is the loss, the way that the game is lost against the Bears that makes you feel like somebody just donkey kicked you in the chest.
Yeah, the one thing that Levis did do on Sunday is the crippling mistake happened early, and he did do some good things after it, including get them in position to win the game, but then couldn't capitalize and take advantage to actually tie or win the game. Do you think they would have gone for 2 if they had scored there?
At home? I don't know. I don't think so.
There was some time on the clock
and the defense was gassed. That last defensive series that Rodgers was against, they were keeping all of their good players out or their good frontline players out until they absolutely had to make sure that they were ready for the end of the game.
Was Will Levis better overall in week 2 than in week 1? 80.7% say yes, he was.
Yeah, it is a hard argument to make to me because of the decision making, but I understand.
It's not a conversation anybody wants to have right now.
I do not want to talk about Will Levis playing better football.
And I understand why, but both things can be true. What would it take for you to want Levis benched? 64.3% say nothing, give him the whole season, no matter what. 8.7% say bench him now. 27% are saying one more disaster, and then you got to pull him.
Well, listen, Carolina just yanked the cord. All right, so, it's not like there's not precedent. And teams have a shorter fuse with these quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, than ever before. So, here's what I'll say. It depends to me, and we could talk about this tomorrow. It depends to me on how this division goes. Because there's only one team in the division that has any wins at all. It's the Houston Texans. Every other team in the AFC South is winless. And if you have a shot to be something in the AFC South and Will Levis keeps sandbagging you, then maybe you consider making the change.
Those are the polls.
That's the show. No more sad boy radio for the day. We're done. Prime time tonight. from at 7 o'clock. Well, maybe a little earlier than 7 o'clock so you can have the opportunity to watch some Monday Night Football. Talk to you then on A to Z Sports.